Welcome to another episode of Two Ales and Hockey Tales with Wally. And today I am so excited to have on a 40-year-old from Hensall, Ontario, Canada. His hockey journey has taken him to Canada, the USA, Denmark, and Switzerland. Had 100 goals in 2 seasons with the Strathroy Rockets. Had a 26-goal and 53-point freshman season en route to the all-rookie team with Western Michigan in the CCHA. Was also on the East Coast all-rookie team with Gwinnett Gladiators, and also there was the East Coast Sportsmanship Award winner, a 2-time first-team All-Star and league MVP, dominated Denmark and led the league in apples. With Bern won a Swiss A championship, but became and is a legend with Langenthal, 2 times leading the Swiss B League in goals and points, a 2-time champion en route to number 15, hitting the rafters in Langenthal, and has now become their head coach. And they are now trying to figure out where to put the statue. Welcome to the podcast, Jeff Soupy Campbell.
Guten Tag, Herr Walton. Danke für die Einladung und ich bin froh, dass ich hier sein.
Leck me a Marsch, du sprechen Deutsch, aber this is nix the Deutsch ich verstanden.
That is so. Hey, Wally, it's great to be here. I was listening to you talk to a couple guys, and I saw you had a little bit of German there from your time over here in Deutschland. So
yeah. By the way, Woolen Chop, Bayfield Brewing Company. You grew up by the Bayfield Brewing Company, didn't you?
I did, buddy. It's been. I don't know if it was there when I.
No, they're new. They started in 2019. Yeah.
Is it okay? Because they had a couple good spots back there when I was home in the summers, and there's a couple breweries popped up around there now. So it's looking forward to getting back there and trying them out there. There's another one near there. Cowbell,
Don't even talk about anybody else. We don't talk about anybody else. Bayfield Brewing Company. Can't wait to meet up with you there when you get home. Bet you haven't been home in a while.
No, it's been over 2 years now. So summer of 19, I was last home. So COVID's been keeping me overseas. That dirty little virus.
You're stuck in terrible Switzerland, eh?
Yeah, that's not one you should be complaining about. That's a first world problem. So
yeah, no, that definitely is. So you do speak German. I cut you off there when I opened up my woolen shop, but you're Swiss German though, eh? That's a little different than what I know.
Yeah, you know what? That's the big problem for my learning curve on the language here was you read and write everything in German. Like in Germany, here they speak like 10, 20 different versions of Swiss German. So I'm in the Bern area, so they speak like Bern Deutsch, they say, and so I don't understand them. It's kind of like if you're in Ontario and you're talking with a guy from Newfoundland.
Yeah,
it's not the same, you know. So once I was here for a little bit, I started studying, and last summer I took my one of my German speaking exams so I could get my passport, and somehow I snuck through. So one of the only exams I probably aced in my life. So
well, it sounds like you're doing pretty well there. So you would have to know German well, though, now that you are a head coach in Switzerland, eh?
You think that would be a requirement, but it's not really. Like it's pretty much all foreign coaches over here. Swedish, Finnish, Canadian. It's hockey. It's English is the unilateral language here. I think I had one German speaking coach, and that was a bit of an eye opener. He didn't speak English well, but I was long enough with the team that it didn't seem to be
you still just went out and did your thing. My first coach ever in Germany did not speak English in the room. The only time he ever spoke English was a one-on-one meeting when he told me my diet was subpar. No, but it is different when you go over there and the coach just doesn't speak English, and English is the universal language, or would you say unilateral? If that
I could have. My English has went downhill the last few years, Wally. So I'm looking forward to the conversation tonight, because I don't get into too many one-on-one English conversations at the moment. I probably pick up a lot of, my grammar wasn't good coming out of Western Michigan, and it hasn't improved, unfortunately.
Okay, well, let's get into this because the first thing I cover is how we know each other. So this is what I wrote down. Western Michigan. We started out as line mates, PK partners, and then right before a game one time, I peed on your skate. Do you remember that?
I do remember that. I didn't know if that was something we were going to bring up.
We're not going to really talk about it. We're not going to talk about the details, but we were standing at the urinals beside each other, and by accident, it just took a hard left turn, and I peed on your right skate right before we were going out for the game. And we looked at each other when it happened, and you said, "Did you just piss on my skate?" And I was like, "Yeah, I think I did."
Oh, well, it might have been the first time, but it wasn't the last time. I think my foot got pissed on at Western in the locker room or the shower. So
that's true, though. There was some strange things going on there, but yeah. So I guess when I first got to Western Michigan, they put us together with Pat Dwyer was like the first month, and really none of us were like natural centermen, as Pat alluded to in his episode.
Yeah, I listened to you guys talk, and it was a thing there where I know for me there after the first year there, we had really big expectations coming after that, and I played wing most of my career until I got to Europe. After that, again, I went back to wing and a little bit in my pro career at the start, but yeah, I think and maybe none of us were natural playmakers. I think we all had a really good scoring touch. And I think that was maybe something that didn't gel with us together there.
I
there
think
wasn't that guy. And
more that I look at it after pro and everything is we didn't have that natural guy that just loved going and being in front of the goalie. We were all making the plays in the corner and nobody was in front of the freaking net.
Yeah, and if me and you were in front of the net, it probably didn't bother the goalie either.
No, he was seeing everything.
He was seeing everything. That's a kind of a problem I deal with now as a coach, trying to find guys on my team that can screen the goalie.
You need guys willing to do it and want to do it, right? You gotta really embrace that role. And I found as I got older, the best careers or best seasons I had was when there was a guy on my line that was willing to do that.
Yeah, that's a big thing in the game now, and you learn that. Like I preach it to some of my young guys. I said, like, you can make a lot of money within a meter or two of the net. So I was like, when in doubt, head to that area. I was like, they don't ask how, they ask how many. Exactly. And in Europe, as we know, that's how you get paid a lot of the time. So
yes,
the elite prospects GMs are plentiful over here.
So the other thing we know each other by is you kind of set the bar in Europe for like my career. Like when I went over there, you kind of started in similar league as me. You were playing in the coast, and then, I guess the other way is I was in Syracuse when you were in Grand Rapids at the AHL. And this was when you had worked your way up out of the coast and you were there. And I thought you were the best player on the ice that night. And then the next year you were in the coast again. And then, that can even frustrate a guy like me watching your career thinking, well, what's this guy supposed to do?
Yeah. It's kind of a story there. Like, a lot of times it's in the old days there, it's about opportunity. I had a couple good opportunities. A couple of them I played well, but the timing and the contract situation, it's if you're not on that NHL two-way or three-way back then, you can help the team out, but then the next season it's the guys that are under contract, they're getting that first look again. So that was a frustrating one for me, and that probably eventually led to me there making that jump over to Europe instead of sticking it out and battling there. I had a couple of situations where I got frustrated a little bit, and maybe I don't know if I regret it now, but I made the decision to go to Europe there, probably seeing a little bit of the business side, how it worked at those lower levels, and I've heard you on here, and that as well as anybody.
Yeah, no, but like when you look at your stats, I can personally see why you leave to go to Europe and why you would be out to prove something, because like when you're putting up 90 points and winning MVP, like not just being a point scorer, but actually being named most valuable player is different than just leading the league in scoring, I think. That's saying around the league, they're saying you are the most valuable for your entire team, not just scoring. Sorry for burping in the mic, folks. But anyways, I could see why you'd go to Europe, and it would be tough when you had a really good AHL year, and then they send you to you don't stay in the AHL the next year. But moving on, another way we knew each other was we both had golf memberships in Kalamazoo that one summer. Remember that?
Yeah, yeah, that was I love those days.
Weren't those
Summer
days? A
golf
lot of
for like
time
I don't know, maybe $400-500 max, and you could
for the
take
whole
one
summer.
class on Wednesday morning class and then golf. So
and, yeah, we mixed in the odd workout too.
did you? That was probably yeah, we did.
Well, we golfed more
So,
than we
but
worked out, I think, back then.
yeah,
But the game's changed, folks. Now that he's a head coach, he's probably all over these young punks to be working out, drinking protein shakes, foam rolling, cold tubs. Hey, you probably have mandatory cold tubs, you punk.
no. If you've seen our cold tub, I'm not that big of an asshole yet that I make them jump in the garbage can here we have in the locker room. But
You're still on the garbage can? I remember the garbage cans. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit of a bigger one. I don't know. Maybe it's a water retainage thing for rainwater coming off the roofs here. So, but better than nothing. It gets the job done. But yeah, as the coach, you kind of you see that other side of the coin, and you gotta speak politically correct, and you want everybody on the right side of the line. So
yeah, I won't tell them what you were really like back in the day. Don't worry.
well, some of my players no.
That's true. I was going to get into that actually. How is the transition from being a teammate and a player on the team to then coaching the same players you were playing with, and like basically like you're their boss now, right? And you're gonna have a lot of say in their contracts and like their future careers and ice time. Like it's got to be an adjustment.
Yeah, that was it was kind of a weird situation how it all went down with me going into the coaching. The big thing was a knee injury there, and then that was a little thing I was hesitant about, and it ended up being a real positive for me. We have such a great group of guys. We had for probably 7 or 8 years here the same 6 or 7 core group, and they were all here when I came as assistant coach and then head coach. So they had really good respect for me, and they knew like I was a hardworking guy, and they thought I was a pretty smart guy. So when I asked them to do something, they all did it. So I haven't really had any guys where I've had problems and having to fight with guys. So the transition's been good. And the big advantage that I tell people is you come into a new team and you don't know 20 guys. I have no idea they don't know me, and I don't know the strengths and weaknesses. So you don't have to take 2 months to learn who's a power play, who's a penalty killer, who's going to make a backhand turnover at the blue line, in the third period. You know that. So for me, it was coming in and I could focus on a lot of the other stuff. And so far it's worked out well there, and the transition has been pretty good. It's tough getting away from the game. That's one thing. I didn't have a break. So because I ended on an injury, I still had that desire to be on the ice. So when we had a guy missing in practice, like I'm jumping in on the 3-on-2, coming down the ice with the boys. So try to have fun with it and just be who you are. So big thing in coaching is, you can't fake it. And in my dressing room, everybody knew me. So I had to be Soupy, and guys call me Soupy, and some of the young guys are looking like, huh, what's going on here? Like, but it's been a good transition, and I'm really enjoying it so far.
All right. Well, you better stop hitting that table when you get excited. Okay. We can hear that. You're getting handsy with us.
Can
you know that? Oh, yeah. Yeah. Right there.
Yeah,
you're getting handsy. I know you're excited. I'm excited too.
I didn't do the media public speaking course at Western there. So
it's actually, I was thinking it's really funny that I'm doing this now, because I was interviewed during a college hockey game, and I was so tired and, maybe a little out of shape at that point that I really had a hard time speaking into a microphone. So my college roommates played that interview back to me about 1,000 times. So to think I'm talking on a microphone all the time is really funny now. But I'm not as winded now, you know?
Yeah, maybe you're in better shape now, Wally.
I think I am,
The
other
kids
than hurt my knee.
practices.
Yeah, other than hurt my knee in the kids' practice there. That was not smart. But anyways, moving on. We need to get into where, and we've covered a lot of this, but where and what are you doing now? And you got kids?
I do. I have a 4.5 year old daughter and a 2.5 year old son. So they're born here, and I'm married to a Swiss girl. So
And what language do you speak to your kids?
I'm speaking English almost all the time, and they're answering me kind of a little bit both, but mainly in German, as they're with the mother most of the time. So German is their first language, but they seem to understand me when they want to in English. So that's good, and for them it's good. They're going to be bilingual growing up, and be a big advantage for them. So I got two great kids and a wife here, and personal life is it's good. It's nice to come home from the rink and see those smiles and laughs there when you get home from a stressful day.
Well, speaking of stressful days, Kay, as we haven't really talked about the elephant in the room, is you've been with this team for, I guess well over a decade, right? And you played there, you won championships, you're the big star, they retire your jersey. Well, now you're the head coach, Soupy. Head coaches get fired, you have a great relationship. You've had a great relationship. I'm not saying things are going to change. I'm sure the way it eventually is going to end is going to be so great, but there's going to be a day that head coaches don't last forever, right?
That is so, Wally. I think your last guest said you're not a real pro coach until you get fired, I think is what Larry said. And so I know Larry, he's popular here in Switzerland, and a successful coach here. And that was one thing I knew when we got into it. Another thing I was a little hesitant of, but I really wanted to get into coaching was like a player, you're on the move all the time. It's a rarity for me. 10 years I played in one spot. You don't have to pack your suitcase up every year, every couple of years. So I said, either at this league, I'm in the second league, which is a good league here. You can make a decent living, but I said either I do well and I leave, or eventually we do bad and they make me leave. So it's going to go probably one of two ways. So
I guess those are the only ways it can go, right?
Yeah. Otherwise, I'm not in hockey anymore, and doing something else if I decide to stay here in Langenthal. But that's something that'll come up, and hopefully I get to leave on my terms. But if it goes the other way, I'm sure they'll treat me with respect and let me down softly.
Yeah, that's all you can hope for. But no, I'm sure you're going to do great, and it'll go the way of you moving up and continuing on. I have no doubt. But let's get into this then. Other question then is, if it was a knee injury that got you into it, were you a pregame speaker? Because that's what I did with a knee injury.
No,
you didn't spray paint yourself. You didn't spray paint yourself different colors naked and dress as superheroes and do pregame speeches.
I did not, Wally, but I could see you doing that. I was more of a silent leader in the dressing room. I think as I got older here in the room, I was probably more professional than you remember me.
Are you saying I'm not professional?
No, that I wasn't as professional when I was younger. I was a little more reserved is the word I'm looking for. Okay. Reserved. You're a little bit more of an open book.
Right.
A little more colorful than I was. So you're more of a life of the party than I am. So I kind of just stayed out of the room as much as I could. So.
But you got into being an assistant coach with the knee injury, right?
Yeah, so I had ended up having 3 surgeries, and I came back after.
What was wrong with your knee?
So kind of. We were playing in the semifinals, and 5-on-3, I lied down to block a shot, and took a one-timer off the kneecap.
Why are you killing 5-on-3s if you're the scorer? But go ahead.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I was
Moving
a
on.
shot blocker
Moving
too,
on.
but so
Moving
I
on.
hobbled to the bench there, and I'm on the bench a little bit and jumping up and down. Yeah, I'm good to go, coach, and jump back over. As soon as I bend my knee there, it's like a knife in there. So I turn and crawl back to the bench, and then ended up I have my kneecaps busted in two, and so they gotta screw that back together. And I come back to play the next year, and then I got a little bit cartilage problem, and so on and so forth. They try to fix it and come back again, but it's not right. So I have my third surgery, and the plan is I come back in January, just before playoffs, the last year. And so something that's kind of not popular here in Switzerland, but like stress leave back home. Here it's called like a burnout. So, work's not going the way you want. Guys get stressed, and then you take a burnout and you go home for, 2-3 months and relax on the couch and
And
take
that's
advantage of the system. So
that's in any job.
yeah, that's
So
anywhere.
so say I'm a supervisor in the real world, and one of my guys or one of my people just says, "Sorry, burnout. I'm heading to the couch. Like I'll see you in a couple
yeah,
months. You're going to deal with this."
you got to get a doctor's note and everything, but like that's one of those ones where it's mental health's a big thing right now, and I think people are more open to talking about it. And when you need a break, you take it. And I know at the time my assistant, he had some problems in his personal life with family, and it was stressful at work, so he'd had enough and he needed a break. And for me, it was they came to me and offered me the assistant coaching job. I think it was they had me in their mind for in the future, knowing I was going to be in the area, that they wanted to bring me into the staff, and it probably happened sooner than they wanted, but it was a cheap option for them too. They were paying me to sit there, so they said like, "Hey, you want to help out?" And I said like, "Yeah," but then that's going to end my chance of playing again. So I said, if I do that, I want a 2-year extension right now for the going forward. And so they said like, "Yeah, we want to have you, Soups. We think it's a great idea." So then I started coaching maybe November, I think, assistant coach, and yeah, we ended up winning the championship that year, and it was a great start to my coaching
You guys
career.
won the championship your first year and being part as the assistant coach.
Yeah, I was assistant coach there. So
And then did
yeah,
I see you win a trophy without the knee brace on as well? Did you win it again? Or have you had?
we won it 3 times here, and yeah, then once in Bern. So, but coincidentally, every time I think we've won a championship, I was injured or not in the lineup. So my first championship here, 30 seconds
Don't
left in
get
the
handsy
game.
on us. Don't hit the table because you're
Sorry,
upset.
buddy.
You won. It's not
Yeah,
a big deal.
this is emotional for me, but
Yeah, but you won.
I head out on the ice with 30 seconds left. I don't know why the coach put us out, because after that game we have relegation playoffs against the team league above to move up. But go into the corner. I don't even go in first. I let the other guy go take the puck. Well, then he gives me like a reverse shoulder, and I kind of go into the boards, and my ankle gets caught in the ice, and then boom, snaps a couple ligaments and bones, and then I'm out there. So I'm on the ice. I stay on the ice, and they're pushing me around in a chair. And after that, I go to the hospital for surgery. And then 2 years later, I do the knee in the semifinals, and then they go on to win. And then the last year, I have the knee again, and I take over as assistant coach. So it was kind of if I wasn't injured, we didn't win. So maybe I was like a regular season guy. I don't know. So
well, I saw some of your playoff stats. You're getting about 20 points in 10 games there a couple seasons. So I think you're pulling your weight. Okay.
Yeah. So
I was just curious how it all went, because I had a knee injury my last year of hockey, and actually the owner said, "Why don't we have Wally on the bench?" And the UK league had a rule you can only have so many coaches on the bench, and they already had, I guess it was 2 and the equipment manager, so there was no room for me to come on. And that's when I got into pregame speeches, and that's
okay. Were you on the ice for those pregame speeches, or just in the dressing room?
That was just in the dressing room. You thought I was naked?
Well, I seen some. I know, no, not naked, but like with clothes. I seen you on the ice, like there. It's a bit more open and wild scene. I feel like some of your Instagram posts and back in the day, the kids on the ice after the game and
right. No, that was Wally night. It got carried away. I'd had a hard transition. I wasn't really in the game anymore. They invited me back, and I got carried away because I thought, you can't do all this for me and I don't do something for you. So I just thought I'd get the party started,
That's a great guy you are there.
Well, I was just having
Doing your
fun.
part.
I was just having fun.
That's what it's all about. So, and
Hockey's
the
supposed to
fans
be
appreciate that over here. So
yeah. Okay. I don't know. It was just having fun. Okay. Let's get into your story here. We've already talked about quite a bit, but not chronologically, if you know that word still in English.
I do.
Okay. Minor hockey in Hensall, Ontario to the Strathroy Rockets.
Yeah. So actually in between there, so Hensall, I know you had my buddy Nezzy on there talking, and we were there's the letters there, AAA all the way down, double C, C. We were at E.
Well, I've drove through Hensall and I've seen how small the LCBO is, the liquor store in town, and my gosh, this is the smallest little room.
Yeah. Does it still have wheels on it there out on the highway, the trailer? Because that's one thing. Two things my town's famous for is like we're the white bean capital of Canada. You see all the big mill, like the silos. And the second is everybody knows us for our LCBO on wheels there, the trailer at the highway, which gets robbed like once a year. People show up on their four-wheelers, grind a hole in the back, and when the cops show up, they're heading through the cornfields with 100 bottles of liquor. So, but yeah, so small town hockey there, 8, 9 kids on the team growing up all the way through, playing on 2 age levels, just that you have enough guys to field the team. And then I moved to Exeter when I got a little bit older for better competition there in the double C.
So
double C category.
There was no Huron Perth Lakers then, because my son literally just went for a tryout there this week.
Yeah, that started, I think, maybe after I was in juniors. I think it started up. I think would have been when, or right at the end. I played junior D in between minor hockey and junior B. So when I was midget age, I think Bantam and midget, I tried out for the junior D team in town, which was actually, we had a really good team. We went to the finals and lost there. Yeah, the Exeter Hawks.
Would you play the Wellesley Applejacks?
Yes, and I believe we lost to them in the finals. They lost 3 years in a row in the finals, and then they beat us in Game 7. I think we lost there. So
those are the boys I know from Elmira that didn't quite make the Sugar Kings would head out to the Applejacks.
Yeah, and that was one of the funnest years of my life. I think I was 16, turned 17, and all the guys are 19, 20, and it was just parties and beer. And you go to high school the next day, and it's kind of like a mini college. You're everybody knows you on campus, and you're at the bar after the game when you're 17. And
this is playing for Exeter Junior D? Yeah, for Exeter Junior D there. So, and I had a good year there, and then I moved on to Strathroy. And Strathroy, you did well, eh? You had the first year over 30 goals, and then I saw you had 60. Where is it? I wrote it down here. 60 something goals in one season in junior B. 62 maybe? Yeah, 62. So I had a great line there, playing with a couple good players, and we had a strong team, and I had a really good season there. So that was good for me. I think I got drafted to the OHL that year as well, and then had some offers to go to the US to college. But I think at the time I got a banner at home. My parents have it in the basement. It was a Strathroy Junior B record for goals in a season. And they brought it to my parents' house when they tore down the old rink. So I remember a lot of guys coming through after the time. They would always see me, be like, "Oh yeah, we saw your banner up in the rink." So it's kind of it was a really fun season there. And we lit it up there, and it was a lot of fun. Well, I actually wrote it down because I have the Sugar King record with 57 goals, but I only played 48 games, so you played more games, so I'm not even going to give you that one. Okay. That's fair. Thresher Belgian whip beer. I had 57 and 48. I think you had 62 and 54. So you know what? You might have had me. I think I might have had you per game, just saying, but I never got a banner from my hometown, so still waiting on her. But we got the 50th anniversary golf tournament on Monday, so that'll be fun. Nice. Yeah. Okay. Golf tournaments are great. Hensall is a cute little town driving through, though. I love it around here. I love living around here. It's not that far away. But anyways, moving on then is how do you get recruited to Western Michigan? How did you choose the Broncos?
Yeah, well, actually, after my, I think it was partway through or right at the beginning of my last year in Strathroy, I had gave a verbal commitment to Colgate. I was down there the year before, gave a verbal commitment there. So I was all set to go there. They kind of just told me like, yeah, your grades are just good enough, but your, what test did we have to do back in the day? The SAT scores there. So my math was good and my English was a little bit low. They said they wanted me to bump it up.
And weird, it's still subpar.
Yeah. And so anyways, I went back and I did the English test again, and I think I bumped it up and I was at like a 960 or something overall, which was good enough to get in there. And then they ended up coming and saying like, yeah, we want you to go back to juniors for another year. You know, and they ended up they had two guys verbally committed and another guy in Peoria, I believe, and they took him in. And then, he's like, I don't want to go back to juniors for another year. I'm already like,
you had just scored 62. You had just scored 62 goals in a season. I couldn't imagine going back after a year like that.
No. So then I kind of was on the lookout, and I think it was Chris Brooks and Scotty Garrow were up to meet me, talk to me after the game, and they were interested. And so then I went down on a recruiting trip right after that, and Jimmy offered me there, and he said like, hey, you know, we got a couple guys we've offered 3 guys, two scholarships. So you know, think about it for the weekend, and then let us know. And then I was kind of set on going to the U.S. to college. So that's kind of how I ended up at Western there. I kind of got.
So there wouldn't have been much time until the next season if you had just given up your scholarship, and now we're looking for a new one. And like the next school year is going to be starting in a couple months, right?
Yeah, like I think I went down to Western in maybe January, February, like maybe a month after I got the news from Colgate that they weren't gonna take me. Then I was open my recruiting again. Kind of thing.
Crazy that you're getting 62 goals that season and however many points, like a lot of points. And that's crazy that a team's telling you to go back to school or you're not getting recruited by all. But I guess that's
surprisingly, I didn't have a lot of offers. I had the coach that left, actually he got fired there at probably fired from Colgate, and he went to Clarkston. He called me right away and said, hey, we want you here, Jeff. But there's a catch. It's only 3 for 4 years,
right?
Because we got a guy here right now, Eric Cole, and he's a junior. If he signs pro, you got a 4 for 4. If he doesn't, then you got to work the hockey schools. We give you money. It'll be enough. You get financial aid. But I was thinking like, hey, we're like little farmers. It's $26,000 a year for tuition. Like
exactly.
You know, my parents are like, it's up to you kind of thing. Like, but I'm thinking like, oh man. So I ended up choosing Western, and followed the road there and became a Bronco.
Yeah. So when you get to the Broncos, then you like nobody's going to really know who you are in the college scene because you're coming from Strathroy and Hensall, and you really made a splash for yourself there. Because like I always talk on this about my big junior year, but you had a bigger freshman year. You had 53 points and 26 goals as a freshie.
Yeah,
you must have big dick swinging around the dorms, eh?
Well, I don't know if I was big dick swinging, but it was a lot of fun there. You know, we had a great team there, and for me, I was fortunate. I played with Mike Bishai and Steve Rimshaw on a line, and they were both really great players. And I think Bishai led the country in points per game that year, like 1.7 or something, and it was pretty offensive back then, I think. So, but after the first game away, they came and asked me like, hey, can you play wing? And I said like, yep. And you ever played the point on the power play? I said like, yeah. And then I was on the power play with them and on the line with them. And I think I probably had 10 backdoor tap-ins. So as you know, as good as my scats were.
Was in a groove that year. Right? He had like 68 points or something.
Yeah, I think at that time in my career, he was like one of the first guys I really played with that was just like really good at skating and like one-on-one with the puck control. he's like one of those kids nowadays, just like dribbling and picking it up, doing things, that I hadn't seen before. And he was a great line mate for me to have there, kind of right time at the right place at the right time for me there, getting on that line. And that set me up with a good opportunity there the next 3-4 years at Western.
Yeah, no, so then I guess your freshman year is crazy, but there was never anybody talk to you about pro after that year. Like, it's your rookie year and you put up 53 points. Like, if a kid does that now, realistically, you'd go almost straight to the NHL.
Yeah, I think one time, I don't know if it was a freshman year, probably was freshman year, because I would have been 19 and I think Mike Jarmy was 18. So we were both draft eligible back then. And the Columbus Blue Jackets came to a game. And I remember after the game, we went out and we talked to the scout there in the lobby. And that was kind of a big deal. And they wanted to take us for dinner, but, they weren't allowed, or, the rules and all that. But then it was kind of like, oh, like, hey, okay, I'm getting noticed. That was pretty cool. And then obviously I think they probably came to check because it was probably listed at 5'10" or 5'11" on my, my stat sheet there. So they probably looked at me and said like, okay, he's 5'8" if we with
Maybe.
skates. So
Maybe.
yeah. So, okay. Yeah. We keep an eye on this Jarmuth guy, but never heard back again. So
that was back when little guys just there were good college players and they were little, but then we like realistically weren't really always looked at for pro, right? Like the little guys that were really good college players, people just didn't think it translated to pro, right?
No, it was probably back then. There wasn't a lot of pro or college guys signing NHL deals, and it wasn't a lot of small guys, whether you were OHL or college. So it was kind of like a two strikes against you, being a small guy and being in the U.S. college system. So lots changed now, but back then, that was before the first lockout, when it was just a war on the ice, and if you weren't 6'4", like you didn't belong. So.
Well, one thing I should bring up while we're in Western Michigan is your class, because that was one of the biggest reasons I went to Western Michigan. I don't know what happened on your recruiting trip, but mine was you guys were ranked like top 5 in the country. Culhane had just taken control of the team, and you guys were like his first class, I think, or you already. And you guys were incredible as a class, and then you're ranked top 5 in the country. I see you guys play Michigan, a sold out barn. And it's like, I think it was a tie, went into overtime, might have lost in overtime, but like it was an incredible atmosphere. And then your class had 5 high-end college players in one class. And yeah, talk about that.
Yeah, like we were Jimmer's first class, and I think all along there we had a special spot in his heart. So we got a lot of advantages there. So when we came in, we were all older, I think, with the exception of Jarmy. We were all overage junior players, with Latz, me, Davies, Drake. Who else do we have there? We had a couple other guys, a couple defensemen come in there, and we had a really good first season there. We were unbelievable at the start. I think we were 13-1. To get ranked, that was the first ever like RPI power rankings. We were second then, and after that came out.
13-1.
Yeah, and then after that, we went on like maybe a 1-13 skid there, and
right after I committed. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was right. I don't know, is that a coincidence or? But I think our goalie Jeff Raynert got hurt, and that was the kind of maybe the first nail in the coffin for us, and we struggled after that. I think we were probably playing above our potential there, and when you get hot, you get hot, and sometimes teams play above who they actually are. And we came down a little bit and probably too far there. And then Northern Michigan, I think, beat us in 3 in the playoffs. And, it was a great first step. And you think like, okay, now these guys, the next couple of years, you're going to learn and you're going to get better. We only lost a couple guys that year. And, unfortunately it didn't go uphill from there. It kind of was a little bit stagnant and went downhill. Especially for me there, I think in that playoff game in Northern, I separated my shoulder and went back in, and I was able to play again. But for the whole next season, it was popping in and out. And I had surgery my sophomore year
That was
in the
right before
summer.
I came in. Yeah,
Yeah,
because I
so
remember you were coming back from that when I got there. And then you had
yeah,
groin injuries, or like you had some groin stuff through college. Because I remember, I
yeah,
think it was on my recruiting trip, because they would compare me to you, right? Two little dudes, you know.
yeah.
When I got there, I'm watching you play because they had mentioned you, and then they had said like, well, he's having groin issues. He's only going to play the power play tonight or something. And I found it interesting that you were willing to do that for the team and everything. That like, it's not going to look good on your stats. You're not playing the full
Yeah.
game. It's not really good for your groins to sit there all game and then go out and play power play. It's not really healing. So, anyways, you had some groin issues too, eh?
Yeah, like that was I talked about it here actually like 2 weeks ago. A trainer had asked me if I had problems with my hip flexors and groins, and I said like actually in college I remember always having like bands around my legs, around my waist, hips, trying to help, with that, and in the cold tub and after the games, and I have no idea why. It's physiologically something for sure. I think at that age I wasn't physically like a strong guy. I was probably 160 pounds, and my body just wasn't developed properly muscularly, and the way we practiced and skated. When you're dead tired after 2-hour practices, and then you get into the games and you're going full out, and it just it was a problem for a few years for me there. And I don't know, when I got pro, I think after my first or second year pro, it kind of just went away, and
Yeah.
never had it after that. So maybe it was just fatigue.
Perhaps maybe the running had something to do with it, right? Maybe. Just,
That could be the
but
old
just
football
I'm
training program.
I'm no
Yeah.
doctor. I am not a doctor. Anyways, okay. But yeah, also another great player your freshman year. I guess you weren't on a line with him, was David Gove. May he rest in peace. But he had a hell of a year too, eh, with Bishai.
Yeah, he was captain of our team that year, and he was a pro on our team there. He was the one guy you could see when you saw him, like he just did everything like what I see now when I see guys that played at the NHL. That was him then,
He
and he
was
was
a
probably
pro.
he was a pro physically. He was just committed to hockey. He was a great guy, did all the right things there, smile. He was like a brother and a father in the dressing room for the young guys too. And he went on to have a great pro career there, and unfortunately, he's not with us anymore. But I learned a lot from him in just that one short year that I was with him.
Yeah, I met him a couple times. It was back like we talked about the spring semester there, where realistically it was like Western Michigan. Like it was like every weekend different beauties would be in town. It would be guys that had played pro that used to go to Western Michigan, would come back for weekends to party. You'd have the freshmen to sophomores just getting out of the dorms, looking to live and only taking a couple classes. And then you have the older classmen showing everybody the ropes and letting people stay in their houses. Those spring semesters, they maybe didn't help us win more games the next season, but they sure brought people together.
That's chemistry there. I remember I took a student loan for $5,000 my second or third year from Canada, so I didn't have to go home and work. That I could just stay and live with one of the older guys and enjoy it. I think it was my junior year. I stayed with maybe Rosie, Aki, and me and Labs took one of the rooms that was open from a guy that left, and I just used that $5,000 to the best of my abilities during the summer. So. Yeah.
They were fun summers. Okay. Next question then for our other Bronco buddies listening is firehouse or tap room, and why?
So for me, it was for tap room. It was firehouse was not there the first year or two when I
Okay.
got there. And then so tap room was the popular spot, and normally how it went for us was it started at Waldo's. I was down by the football stadium, the little bar there, and they had the $5 mixed pitchers. So, was a great start. And then it was to the tap room after, and the guys had contacts there. So all the guys without IDs, we could slide in the back door and not wait
And
in
if there was
line.
there was no waiting in line, there could be a
Yeah,
line of 40, 50 people and we just stroll up, right?
yeah, kind of that
18
VIP feeling.
years old, chests
Yeah,
out.
yeah. You didn't wait in line for beer. The bartenders knew you a little bit, and That was probably why. And then the Firehouse got popular after, especially with the younger guys. And made a couple trips down there. And but I was tap room there and enjoyed it down at Waldo's as well there. But normally made our way back to that area. It was close to the houses and
back to home base. Okay, now your freshman year is wild. Your next 3 years are all good. I think you're in the 30, like closer to 40 point range for most of them.
Mm-hmm.
So what are your pro options? And I guess the first pro option was the Kalamazoo K-Wings in the U-Haul.
Yeah, so at the end of that year, obviously I didn't have my senior year. I didn't have like AHL or NHL teams knocking on my door. So I think I had the Shreveport Mudbugs. Just knew a guy down there, and Kalamazoo. Well, Nezzy's buddy, he talked about him on the show, and it was a mutual contact, and they knew me. But it's kind of, can I stay and finish school, get a little money, and I decided just to stay there in Kalamazoo, make a little bit of money, and get a taste of pro hockey there. So
I went over there and play.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I had a decent start, but nothing great, and enjoyed the time there, and then moved on.
Yeah. So then after that part there where you're still in school at Kalamazoo, and you get to go play pro, and we all got to go watch you. I think, didn't Draker play with you too there?
Yeah, we might have been 3 or 4 of us. I'd have to look, but
because you guys had a great class, you all get out of school at the same time. There's no doubt that team should sign but I remember going to watch and thinking, geez, I would have thought they would play more in this league. But I guess you go to a new team that has their lines and their staff.
Yeah, and I might even have sat one of the playoff games there. I went from the first line to not in the lineup. There's not as many guys playing. And me, Draker, I'm trying to think if we had 1 or 2 other guys come with us there or not, but maybe there was a couple guys from the year before that were playing there.
Went for a bit, didn't he?
Yeah, Yammer, Josh Ackright, and maybe Ryan Crane. I'm not sure if he was there with us or not, but I remember we had a jersey auction our first game we played. And it's kind of like none of the fans knew us. So you're up on stage trying to sell your jersey, and you're just hoping there's a Bronco fan that bids a couple $100 that you're not that loser that doesn't get any bids. So, but that was the first taste of pro hockey, and it wasn't the best one. It was the U-Haul was not the best league with the teams, and just watching your back that some goon didn't want to fight you every night.
Yeah, no, I remember going to watch that stuff. It wasn't the sexiest hockey I've seen, you could say. Okay. After that, though, were you done school then? You're graduated, and do you just sign like an East Coast deal with Gwinnett?
Yeah, I didn't graduate. I still haven't graduated.
Shut your filthy mouth.
I was in teaching, so we are on the 4.5, 5-year program, and to finish, I got to do an internship in Michigan.
And what about in Michigan, like this coaching the kids nowadays? So, that should be helping, eh? That should work towards some credits.
Yeah, so I did a couple online courses 2 years ago, and I almost went back instead of coaching to finish, but I decided to get into coaching. So it's kind of was a time thing for me, and opportunities over here were so good that I didn't finish yet. But so I plan to go back in the summers, a couple years pro, and then I'd come back, finish it up somehow. But kind of never got around to that, unfortunately, yet. But I'm going to get back there and get a degree eventually, whether it's in my teaching or just a general ed degree to finish it up. But so I didn't have a ton of offers there. Gwinnett had called me before as well, the year before, but one of the coaches or an agent I had said they just want to get you in there so they have your rights for next season. They get you in for $300 or $400 a week. And the next year you got to stay for that money, even if you're good or not. So I didn't go down there, but I went down there, and it was a great spot. Down south, you get the free golf.
Okay, hold on.
Oh, sorry.
Random question. Was your favorite part of playing in Atlanta A, free Chipotle, which I don't think you're going to choose because you got that in Kalamazoo too. B, free golf at Windermere, Hamilton Mill, and Old Atlanta, or C, Wild Bills?
Yeah, well, I love Chipotle. I love the free golf, but Wild Bill's was that was a special bar and a lot of fun there. So I'd
Wild
say
Bills.
Wild Bills. Yeah,
What goes on at
golf.
Wild Bills?
One of my great memories from there was, and I don't know why. If I saw it today, I would die laughing again. So they got the mechanical bull, but what they had in there was the guy they paid to come, and I gotta remember the movie right now. Maybe help me out here. Curly red hair. He's kind of a loser. No.
Hey, you keep your hands off that table. I know you're
Sorry,
getting
buddy. It's my
upset.
ring. It's my ring here. But
Jeez.
they had a guy come in, and it was kind of a country western bar, but line dancing going on, and yeah, it was 5,000 people could fit in this place. So when it was October, there was Halloween parties, and everybody had a costume. All the bartenders were, I think they signed a contract, and they had some upgrades done to their uniforms. If you know where I'm going there. So as a young male there, that was an exciting place. And I think we had Rihanna. Rihanna was there in concert. Like always big stars back then. That kind of the rap pop was hot in Atlanta, so those guys were just coming up, and they were in there, and that was just a lot of fun. The whole
And
team always went.
a little boy from Hensall, Ontario, was just in there boogieing it down with the rest of them, eh?
Yeah, going to Kalamazoo was a big step for me, and
Yeah.
going there like to Atlanta with 5 million people, it was a really big step, and but enjoyed every minute of it down there.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm sure you did. Because when you're, I feel like the way you played hockey while you're in Gwinnett, you had to have been enjoying life too. And I bet you Wild Bills had a big part of that, and the free Chipotle and the free golf, right?
Yeah, it was kind of the motto there. It was like play hard, party hard, and
That's
for the
the
most
coast,
part,
baby.
yeah, you gotta enjoy it. And I think looking back, I didn't know how to be a pro at that time, with the gym and learning how to get better skill development. Like I didn't really have that throughout my career all the way up. If I had
I
coaches,
definitely didn't.
I had some really good coaches, but I never had, it was practice and then it was games, and it wasn't developing your skills and things like that. But I had an amazing career and a lot of fun along the way in different spots. So I
Yeah.
can't complain.
No, I actually think, speaking of like the Instagram earlier, is I saw you post something of like the drills you were doing with your players. And I was like, huh, I never practiced like that in my life.
No, so and I don't get a lot of time to practice them. So sometimes I just show them like an Instagram post where I found the drill, so I don't have to demonstrate it. Or if I got one guy that can do it, and he'll demonstrate it for me. But the guys nowadays, they're asking for that kind of stuff, and a lot of the guys we get here are from the league above, young guys. So there, it's like NHL programs. They're doing skill training 3-4 times a week, and so they come here, and it's like, hey, what do you got for us, Jeff? And
Yeah.
so I'm watching videos and searching and trying to come up with things. So
Well, don't forget Larry Harris's app there, Hockey Coach Vision, right?
that's right. Have to check it
It
out.
actually looked really cool, man. I've been checking it out. But okay. So your rookie season in the coast then. The weird part is you can sign an East Coast deal, right? And a lot of guys will do that and they go to training camp, or if it's just a trial, like teams have so many other options and they don't know who they're going to take out of who they've signed because of all the training camps going on and who's going to get sent to them. So when you're going to Gwinnett, there's no guarantees you're even going to be in the coast, but you end up getting a 30-goal rookie season and our first team or an all rookie guy.
Yeah, so actually part of the reason why I signed there was they were affiliated with Chicago, and I knew the Wolves there, and I thought like, oh, it's the lockout. Hey, that would be great. It's close, Kalamazoo, kind of close to home. I go there for training camp, so I sign and I get to go to training camp with the Wolves. And ends up like if you hadn't played 280 games, you're not considered locked out. So I get there, and like the coach from Gwinnett comes up to me after the first couple of days, and he's like, hey, enjoy the weekend here, and we'll see you in Gwinnett on Monday. And I was like, huh? And then I talked to another guy, and there was 52 guys there under contract.
Yeah.
So I ended up probably like 15 or 20 came to us in the coast. So
you're so not to say you're lucky because you're better than most of them, but like it's hard to make any pro team that year.
Yeah, that was it was a stacked year, and lucky for us, Chicago was an organization where they just bought their own guys. So all the Thrasher guys, they sent them down to us, and we were loaded down there. So
Is that
had
when
a
you're
really
playing
great
with
team.
Burkle and Lane Manson and the boys?
Yeah, Manson came down. Burkle might have been the yeah, he might have been that. Yeah, he was that year as well. We had Troy Milam, Brad Shell. We had a bunch of guys there. It was a real great year. We went up to Toledo in the old barn, and I have to maybe try to find a link there from Manson. He was fighting up there, and everybody's got the megaphones. They're throwing beers at him, and he's picking the beers up, and there you got to walk to get to the dressing room. You got to walk up behind the bench into the stands, and he's going up there, and he grabs a couple beers, and it's like a the Chiefs movie, like it was awesome there, and
And
a lot of fun.
Lane Manson, I think it's the next year then, right? Or pretty close to it, is he plays with me in Dayton and we play
Hmm.
Toledo in the same conference. And then so he knows the fans from then. And then I'm playing with them in Dayton. And every time we went there, it was like an absolute circus between him, the fans, the other team, and like there's people with the megaphones, there's people smoking, there's people hanging over the glass. It was like it was Slapshot.
That's exactly what it was, and Lane loved it. Played up to it there. He's a great guy. He actually stood up in my wedding. So
And was a star in Goon too, folks.
and he was too, actually. I thought that was a joke, and when I first watched the movie, I checked it out just to see him, and I was like, oh, that's not him. Is it him? And then yeah, so it was one of the great characters I met along the way there, and yeah.
Yeah, he's a big boy, 6'9",
He was,
I think.
yeah, he was 6'9", 275 pounds, and he was skinny.
Skinny. He was a skinny, yes,
Skinny six, not
275.
two skinny 275, if you can say that. So
So,
but
okay, so your first year, then you get 30 goals. I understand there's no call ups that year now. It makes sense because it's the lockout and you're not part of an AHL team that are full, anyways. And even if they got to call someone up, they got guys on NHL deals in the coast. So, we're not even going to talk about the rest of that year. Year two, league MVP, lockout's over, 30 goals again, 83 points in 62 games played. That's quite the season, but you never got called up. So do you ever get like upset?
I got called up at the end of the season there. I got up for 6 or 7
sorry,
games. Yeah,
Lowell Lock
I know.
Monsters. You're right. My research
Yeah,
team was on that.
but
My bad.
but that there was also a little bit of my first glimpse into the pro hockey there. I went up, and there was kind of maybe a back deal there with our coach in Gwinnett and them. They had some injuries, and I could go, but because they were battling for that last playoff spot, and maybe they weren't going to make it, soon as like they didn't think they were going to make it, my coach like recalled me to the coast. I got called like back down because we were the top seed going into the playoffs, and he didn't want me hanging around there getting injured. So I think they had a kind of agreement. I could come up, help them out for a few games, and then kind of got cut short, and I went back down there. So,
And
which
isn't
I
it?
wasn't sour about at the time. I was happy to get a call up, and
Yeah, but the
but
thing is you get the call up and you're in the AHL, and like you finally got called up. I remember the time when I get called up to Syracuse, and I'd been down Dayton for months, and then I finally get
mhm.
called up after a Friday night game on the road. We bus to another game. We're there for pregame skate. I get called up, fly to Syracuse, and then I find out that the East Coast coach has asked for me back on the Sunday afternoon. So I'm going to play for Dayton, then Syracuse, then Dayton in one weekend in three different cities, two plane
Yeah.
rides. And this is all because they need me back in the East Coast when I've been working all year to make it to the AHL. That's when you hit the mechanical bull and pull your hamstring, folks. Navigating lieutenant.
Yeah, that is so. But I can tell you now that I'm a coach, Wally, and if I let you go for the weekend, and
You
I
let
know
me
if I
go for
don't
the
win
weekend. You let
if
me
I let
go.
you go for the weekend, I want you back, because if you're not here, I'm going to get fired. So I see the other side of it now. It doesn't make me happy about it, but I understand. Like,
Wanting
we've
to
got,
have your best
you
lineup
know, yeah,
possible.
we had a situation last year. We had a player, and he never played in the A League here, and for me, he's one of the best like Swiss players in our league. and they wanted to call him up, but we were down to 11 players, 11 forwards. So we were just like, we don't know yet.
You didn't hold him back, did you? You held him
No,
back?
I didn't hold him back. Our owner was like, nope, because the last couple times I went up to the A League and one of our defensemen, and we got injured while we were up there. And then it ruins your team down here if you lose 2-3 key players. Like,
oh yeah,
your season's over, at the levels where you don't get a lot of imports. So at the end of the year, though, I was like, hey, if he gets another call, like, I know for him, like, I'm still like feel like a player sometimes, and I want, like, hey, I played with this guy, like, he deserves it. He worked so hard for me. Like, let's let him go. We already signed an extension for him, so it's no danger that we're going to lose him long term. And I think that was the big thing at the time. We were afraid we'd lose him if we let him go. It was basically a tryout, probably.
Yeah.
And so after he inked a 3-year deal with us, then I was pushing, like, hey, let the guy get up there and have a sip of coffee at that level. And
let him taste it.
Yeah. And lucky for us, he played great up there, but he had a contract with us, so he's still here.
So you still win.
Yeah. So you see the other side. I see the other side of it now, but
no,
it's
but
an ugly business at times.
But it must have meant a lot to you, because like in a league like the East Coast, when I don't know how many teams there are, I don't pay attention. It changes every year. But for everybody to name you the MVP of the entire league, that is a pretty big deal, because there's about 60 guys a roster and there's about 20 to 30 teams in the league, and they go through 60 players a year, and you were the most valuable of all of them.
Yeah, that was a big honor for me, and I worked pretty hard that off season and put on some muscle, and it rewarded. And I was a beneficiary, like I said. There we had a great squad there. I had great line mates down there, Brad Shell, Nezzy. We had a power play, and I think both of our defensemen on the power play maybe scored close to 30 goals, that season. So there was a great team around me there, and we were first or second in the whole league. So I think that was one of the things where that shone the spotlight on me a little bit. And I was kind of a guy that worked hard as well. I wasn't a guy like, if we compare me and you had better hands, better skill. I wasn't a guy that goes one-on-one and dangles. I don't have that in my game. Maybe I lean on the mental side more. I think when I was at Western, they were teasing me that they got my highlight video from juniors, and every goal I'd scored was from within 5-6 feet of the net. It was either a deke or a 5-hole shot, because I didn't have like great skill. So, but it was definitely a great honor there, and kind of put me on the map a little bit for some AHL teams for call-ups the next season.
Yeah, and that's where you get into the business side of this. Is like, when you look at our timetables here, is you're 2 years ahead of me at school, similar players. Now I'm coming out of college after 2 good years. I'm a scoring winger. That's little. And now you've just won MVP in the coast. And that's like, well, you're 2-3 years older or 2 years older than me, right? And I'm just coming in. It's like, well, yeah, he's won MVP, but then we got all the young punks coming out. Not that I was one of the young punks, right? Because I'm coming out of school. You got the major junior kids that are 4 years younger than me. And yeah, like it came out in the Nesbitt episode. So after that season, I guess you guys had a hell of a playoff run. I shouldn't jump over that. The next year, you don't even stick in the AHL after being the league MVP. And then you getting sent down to Gwinnett then forces Nesbitt out of there, right?
Yeah, and I didn't remember that. I remember listening to the episode there, and I kind of laughed. And it was one of those things where I went to Grand Rapids for training camp, and I had a good camp, and there was 2 of us left actually fighting for like one spot. It was me and Jamie Tardif. We were the 2 guys that didn't have like or NHL 2-ways, and
he's a little guy too, right?
Yeah, and we ended up both getting sent down the next day, because Yuri Hudler and Vitaly Fipula, they got sent down from Detroit to start the season that year, and so we got cut, and they said like, hey, you did a great job, we thought you fit in, you did good, but this is a situation here, but keep your phone nearby. So I got sent down there for maybe the first 20 games of the AHL season. had a good start, and then they called me back up. So
Well, yeah, you had a good start. Yeah, you had 17 points in 11 games. But anyways, okay, before we jump past that year before, I guess you had 16 points in 17 games played in the coast. So you guys would have almost won it after your MVP season, eh?
yeah, we lost to Alaska in the finals there. So
Yeah,
there
we've
was bad
discussed
luck.
that series with Nesbitt, eh?
Yeah, and Patty Dwyer was there with us as well. He came in for playoffs that year. And
That's
you
right.
know what? All three guys, I think Nazi was on my line when we kind of switched a little bit, but my centerman then, I was playing right wing, and he got a slash, and I was like first year maybe of Reebok and just shitty equipment. So he blew his finger apart, and I think Patty got a slash and broke his finger, needed surgery, so he was out for the playoffs or the second half of it. And I got a slash in maybe game 4, and my nail had split in half. So like in the dressing room, the guy's like, yeah, I don't want to freeze that. It's gonna hurt more. Like so, he just heated up the needle and like sewed my finger back together. And through the nail, it was like, that dead person, like when your hair's burning smell
Oh,
there. So I'm almost puking in the dressing room from the pain. But we go back out, and I think the game's maybe tied, and we get a 5-on-3, and there's a D to D pass on the 5-on-3, and the guy fans on him, and maybe it's Chris Menard, or yeah, maybe he takes it down the ice and scores, and that we would have went up in this series 2-1. Instead, we go down, and then we lose the next two. But yeah, we had a great team. They had a great team as well, and it was kind of one of those ones where 1-2 plays makes the difference there. But yeah, I remember the rest of the series, I couldn't hold my stick. You get a breakaway trying to shoot, and the puck doesn't come off the ice. And we had 3 guys with the finger hand injury there, and a couple key players go out.
with
And
the same gloves. I find it
yeah,
very interesting. Like I guess the more episodes I do, the more people I talk to, just how this spider web of hockey players is even closer than you think. Because just that one series, right? When I'm finishing college
yeah.
between Alaska and Gwinnett, I think now I've had on like 4 or 5 people on the podcast from that one series.
Yeah, there's been, and probably because a bunch of us played so long that we all kind of jumped around to different spots and together with each other. But yeah,
Well,
especially
and
once you get,
there's usually a character check before you come on the podcast, and you guys all passed that, and that's how you play long. That's how you played on one team for 10 years, and now you're the coach. Is you got to pass the character check to make it onto 2 ales and hockey tales, right?
well, I'm glad I passed. I thank my references. I don't know, they might have lied to you a little bit there, but or the
Uh,
standards maybe aren't so high.
I don't have to ask around if I know the person. I didn't have to ask around for you.
Okay, you're my reference.
Okay, so yeah, you guys had that you lost to Alaska. That sucks. Losing sucks in the finals, especially when you go that far and you put it all on the line, but losing sucks at any point, right? But anyways, moving on then is that next year, then you do finally get the call up after 17 points in 11 games played. And that's basically, this is your 3rd year in the coast. And like that's when I'm fresh out of college. I'm going through
Mhm.
my struggles, and I'm with Syracuse, and I'm not really getting a chance with them. I didn't get any ice
Yeah,
time or play well when I was with them, but I did play against you in Syracuse, and I think
yeah,
that may have been one of the last times I saw you was in that hotel in Syracuse, because your team
that's
would stay in the same
probably,
place as the
yeah,
young punks like me.
call-ups.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a long time ago, and that's it's crazy how time flies there. Like a lot of the guys that we played with back in college, I've seen a handful of them at a golf tournament, or probably Jeremy's the guy I see the
That's where
most
I
just because
saw you
he's
last. Daryl Moore's wedding in Kalamazoo. No,
no,
you were in the golf tournament with Yammer. I saw you
yeah,
in a hotel.
oh, okay, yeah, that was probably the last time I've seen a lot of guys there. Was at that golf tournament.
And I
Yeah,
wasn't in the golf tournament. I was at Daryl
at the
Moore's
wedding.
wedding in Kalamazoo,
Okay,
same weekend.
yeah, yeah, all right, yeah,
Yeah. You
that's
might not remember. It was later at
no.
night, but I
I
just
was
remember seeing you and Yammer, and I hadn't seen you since school.
Yeah, I was going through a transition in my life there, so I was enjoying
The
The
golf
beers.
the
I
golf.
had at least 2 ales that night.
Well, we usually have 2 ales on the pod.
So yeah, that was I was lucky there when I got called up to Grand Rapids.
Well, you
I
played
had
a lot there, right? Like you were
yeah,
playing a lot when I saw you.
yeah. I had Greg Ireland as my coach, and it was a situation where I was on a PTO there, so it's day by day. So you go into that room, and I was in that room, and not a lot of guys had respect for him or liked him, and I was he said something, and he said jump, and I said how high. And I remember, I think it was the second game I played. I was on the fourth line with another guy, Brock Rudunsky, and
I know him.
we were practicing there, the Detroit system. So, if you're on a 3-on-2, you drove wide. There was no high guy. And the guy with the puck, you shot it off, low blocker off the pad.
And
so we were coming down there. Yeah. And I coming down the wing, and I shoot it, all on the ice off the pad, and Brock puts it in there. I think we score and win the net. And then, then I'm kind of like, the coach's pet a little bit then after that. So then I get onto the power play, and Kip Miller was there at the time. And, he was like a legend. He played with Lemieux and Yager on a line, during the cup runs and stuff. So like that guy knew hockey, and I got the opportunity there. And that was really the first time I had some older guys that I learned a lot from, like little things like, hey, when you're on the power play, hey, pass it here under the stick or here. My game developed, and then I got a chance. They said like, hey, you're going to play power play. You're going to play here. And we didn't have maybe a lot of skill on the team at the time. We had Jimmy Howard in net, and, we played defensive hockey. And so I had a good opportunity there, and did pretty well. And I was, happy that I got to stay all year. I think halfway through the year, they kept me on a PTO, and but gave me raises all the time. So yeah, for my first like real long-term call up there, it went as well as I could expect it. I would have liked to, produce a little bit more.
You're in a PTO that whole year for 60 something games.
Yeah, so I think at the time it was like 29,000 prorated per day, and I think I probably got bumped up to 35, or maybe the last month before the playoffs they put me on a minimum deal for 35. I think I got a one way at the end for the last 5 games.
I'm pretty sure league minimum was 32.5, but I'm just guessing.
Yeah, but maybe not on the PTO. You had an actual contract.
But yeah, backstory for me with Brock Rudunsky is I haven't really tried to contact him too much yet, but when I was a young buck, my kid's age, like 8 or 9 or so, his old man started the spring AAA team in the KW area out of New Hamburg. And his old man, Bob Rudunsky, put together the best guys my age, and I played for the Armadillos with Brock.
Okay, yeah, Brock's he's going to be a great guy for you to get on. He's got probably a great story playing over there in Korea.
Playing for South Korea as a 6'4" blonde guy.
Yeah, when we were in Grand Rapids there, Jimmy Pack, who would have been the coach he had in South Korea for the Olympics,
played for
he was
the Penguins.
Assistant coach. Yeah. And what a great guy he was. We'd be doing video in the mornings, and he'd be showing clips. And always, like once a week, all of a sudden, it would kind of go black and gray, and you'd see like, Lemieux's got it coming in the wing, pass to the middle, shoots, he scores. Jimmy Pack, like getting a playoff goal. It was like he had 2 goals, and he was just a great guy with a smile. And we had a rough season that year, so. Yeah, I remember Jimmy would throw on those clips of himself with the Penguins, and big smile, and everybody would kind of laugh and break the ice after a couple losses there on the road.
Well, that season for me, like I think I only saw you play once that year, but I knew you had been in the coast. I knew you'd won MVP because I'm watching you from Western. And then I'm in pro, and I am toiling away. When I'm in Syracuse, I am so miserable. I don't play a shift. I just sit on the bench, or I get healthied after the warmups. And then I see you in the like lobby or whatever. We say hi quick. And then I watch you play that night, and you're on a PTO, and you're getting that much ice time. And you were like their best player that night. And I'm like, holy shit, Soupy's made it. I'm like, he's a staple of that team. He is on the roster. He is one of their main guys. And then I see after that season, back down to the coast, eh?
Yeah, like the end of the season, whether maybe I don't, totally remember everything. We got into the playoffs and we weren't playing great. Maybe I wasn't playing great, but Detroit had called up.
You did better than
We were,
Syracuse if you made the playoffs. Syracuse didn't make the
yeah.
playoffs, and I sure didn't get a sniff. That's for sure.
So we got into the playoffs, and Detroit brings up all their junior guys at the end of the year. They send them up. They can play there. It's not part of their contract, but they want to take a look at them to see what they got for next year. And I think we had Corey Emerton and a couple other young guys from the OHL. So they came, and then the coach calls you in after game 2. Hey, we want to make your roles changed here. We need you to sign this paper that you got a hamstring injury, so they can make a roster spot and you go out and, that you can't say anything, you say no, then they're like, well, you're out anyways. And, see you later. So that was kind of the end there. We lost to a better team and I didn't get to play a lot at the end, and maybe I didn't play well. I don't remember it exactly, but I felt like I belonged then. I thought I did enough there that I made a good enough impression, and I'm going to get an opportunity after that. So,
how old are you then?
What am I? I was 20. So back in
your mid-20s though, eh?
06. So I'm 24, turned 25 then. So that's my third year pro then. And I'm thinking like, okay, talking to my agent at the end. And actually then that was the first time I got like a little bit of interest from AHL teams to sign. And we were talking with Tampa Bay, I believe. He said, I talked to Tampa Bay. They're looking for depth, center position for the AHL in Norfolk probably.
So were you playing center in Grand Rapids?
A little bit center, a little bit wing. But I think most of the time I was playing wing. If I was playing with Kip Miller. Or,
say a little bit again.
A little bit. I said it there like you, but
you said a Canadian that time. You said a Canadian that time. Folks, if you want to rewind 15 seconds, you got an accent, sir.
Yeah, I pick up a lot of, I'm surprised I'm not using more German words. I remember my import partner here, Brent, at the end, I was doing a speech as a coach and he was kind of watching me and he was like, hey, you're saying so many like words that are Swiss, man. It's so weird. But I was just like, don't have contact in English anymore. And so I love listening to your show because I get the lingo again. That's one thing I miss about Canada is all the sarcasm and the little innuendos with like different words and stuff we use, like here they have it and it's Swiss German and I'm not involved. I'm not there yet.
Well, and it's like when you go to Germany and like people say stuff in English or even in German and you understand what they're saying and you're like, wow, that was really rude. Like, did you actually say that? But it's not the same, right? It's not.
Yeah, you gotta, I appreciate it more now that I know I make all the same stupid mistakes when I'm trying to talk their language. I try not to laugh at them, but you still laugh, it's just the way it is. So,
okay. So, after the Grand Rapids year, you're back to Gwinnett. You don't get anything. You then, instead of hitting Taco Bell or you're upset that you're back in the coast, you instead keep on keeping on and have an even better year than you did when you were MVP. You had 91 points now, eh?
Yeah, like I got back there and before I went there, actually, my agent called me at the time and he said, hey, waiting to hear back from Tampa Bay. I said, okay, great. Let me know. He said, well, here at the end of the week. So 2 weeks go by and Pyler's calling me from Gwinnett. Hey, are you going to come back? I got money, but if you don't take it now, I got to give it to somebody else. And I said like, well, I got to get a hold of my agent. So I give him like 10 calls, nothing. Waiting like, fuck, like, I had a great seat. I'm going to get a deal in the AHL for sure. Like, but I don't want to pass up Gwinnett because if I got to go back, I want to go back there. So finally don't hear nothing. And then finally get a call from a guy out West. And he said, hey, Jeff, I got your number from Nezzy. Hope you don't mind that I call you, but you have the same agent as me. And have you heard from him? And I said like, no, I haven't heard from him in a while, but I'm waiting to hear from him. He's like, yeah, me too. It's been a month and a half. And I was like, I'm like 3-4 weeks. And he said, but I heard a rumor and I'll call you back tomorrow. I want to check in on it. So he called me back the next day and he told me like our agent had, ended up, him and his wife had a split for some reason, but back in the day there, you got a server and you could only access it from your computer. And his computer was in the basement of the house and his wife had not let him back into the house for a month. So he had no way to contact us. He had no, cell phones weren't a thing, emails, none of that. So
I think cell phones are a thing at this point. Cell phones are a thing at this point. They have to be.
They are a thing, because I think I got one my last year at Western. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I even had one that had, like, you could put a picture of the person calling you on it at one point by the end of Western.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
It was pretty hot when Lisa would call me and her picture would pop up. I'd be like, whoa.
So, but for any reason there, he never got back to us. And he said after the time, he said, like, yeah, I couldn't get into your email and information because my computer was locked up in the house, and apologized. But I ended up signing back in Gwinnett there. And since then, I don't think I really had much liking for an agent after that, So, but had a great season there, and got another call up at the end of that year to Norfolk again. And I went up partway through the year. I went up to Norfolk, and I think they had like 8 guys injured. So I was playing on the second or third line with 2 defensemen, and I didn't have great numbers, but we were a bad team. And I said, like, okay, I'm good enough to stay here. And I talked to the GM and said, like, hey, I want a contract right now. If you want me to stay, it's time. Like, I've been here for a month almost, and my wife's back in Atlanta working. She's driving up here 8 hours, flying in on weekends to see me. They wanted me to stay and go into an apartment, and the guys on the team had told me, like, don't go into an apartment because you got to sign a lease unless you get a contract, because the other guys here, they got screwed. They sent them down, after other guys came back, or you didn't play well. And he said, like, that's business. So just let you know. And I I put my foot down and kind of thought I had leverage. And they said, like, no, Tampa Bay said we can't give out any more contracts. Like, they own us. And that was the thing. And I was like, okay, he's bluffing. I had an agent helping me then a little bit. And I said, like, tell him tomorrow, if I don't have it, I'm leaving. And I went to his office, and he said, like, sorry, I can't give you anything. I can give you a $5,000 raise. And I said, like, no, I'm leaving. My wife makes double me. It's not part of the deal for me right now. I'm my fifth year pro, and there I made a decision then. Maybe it was wrong at the time, but I didn't want to grind it out up and down every year there. And maybe I regret it a little bit, but because of how well things went for me, other than trying to fight to get a game or preseason game in the NHL, it all worked out there for me that I went back to Gwinnett.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. There's sticking in the AHL is one thing, and then actually getting to the next step is a whole nother thing, right? Like, for what you can do in Europe and actually be part of a team and feel like you're on a team. And like, for your Gwinnett time, it seems like you guys are a team. Like, you're good every year, you're treated well, people are having fun. It sounds like you're kind of a team, even though you're in the coast, right?
Yeah, everybody that came in there was a pretty good guy and bought in. And the coach we had there, he made it fun. He was a really good pro guy, so he knew what it was like. He was a pro a long time, Europe, North America, played in the AHL, IHL, was really good. So everybody had respect for him, and he made it fun for us there. And all the guys loved having fun together. When we went out together, and so it made it great there. You had bad losses. I remember on the bus, the trainer or the coach would come on, and he'd kind of look back at the bus. Everybody's pissed, and he'd be like, hey, you pussies want to come up here and play Schnarples? You got any balls, And then immediately then everybody was back together, and, whatever had happened there for a couple of days, it was behind us.
Well, and that's the thing, right? It's not like when you're a pro hockey player and you've got to that level, like, we're all so competitive. When you lose a game, sometimes you don't need the coach to add salt to the wound. Like, everybody's pissed off. Everybody knows we lost, right? Like, sometimes you just need to move on, right?
Yeah, and I think probably the big thing, and it's been a thing for me here in Europe, when you're winning, everything's good, and this boat's sailing. I think I was on a few losing teams. I think when I was in Grand Rapids that year, and we finished 4th out of 5 teams, and that was probably one of the more difficult seasons of my pro career. So it didn't go through a lot of adversity there with losing teams and difficult situations. So that's always a big advantage. I know here at coaching, when you're winning, there's less stress. You can smile, you can laugh. The coach isn't yelling in practice over a couple bad passes because the results are there in the game. And that's a big thing. Winning cures everything. They say it.
It sure does. Though. It makes life better. So, it makes everything better. And maybe it made me just realize that your whiteboard for the players in the back says 2 ales and hockey tales with Wally. I love it.
Is it
SC
for,
Langenthal. I love it.
yeah, that's right, buddy. That's what the board's there for, to keep me, make sure I
Now
didn't
all
miss
your
it today.
players are going to
So
get into it. This thing's just going to explode someday, isn't
yeah,
it?
my wife's asking for the link. She's excited, I,
That's
so
good
yeah,
because
but
I had more positive feedback from another wife this week. Like when the wives write to me and say like, thank you for doing that. That was great. Like I tell you, my career, I didn't really always hang out with the wives that much. But when they write to me and say I'm doing a good job doing this, that's big for me,
you're doing a good job when the bosses say
when
you're
the
doing a good
bosses
job.
when the bosses approve, that means Wally's on to something here, folks. Okay.
Yeah.
Now you're leaving Gwinnett after 91 points in 65 games with an 8-game call up. So you could have hit 100 points that year if they wouldn't have called you up, those punks, eh?
Yeah, bastards.
Whatever. Yeah. Okay, but you could have got more free Chipotle and free golf and all the fun stuff. Daytona Beach wasn't like that. No free Chipotle, no free golf, and no Wild Bills. But we went to the finals too, so whatever. Okay. Now you finally decide to leave. So did you have an agent? How do you end up with the Herning Blue Foxes?
Yeah, so coincidentally, the agent that I fired the year before, I hadn't talked to him since. He never called me back. I wrote him an email, hey, you're fired, just so he doesn't get a percent of my money. I got the email there. So he calls me back, apologizes, wants to represent me. And I said, like, no, I don't want it. And then he called me back later in the year and he said, hey, Jeff, I know you don't want to representing me. And, and I understand that, but I got teams in Europe calling. And I said, like, yeah, maybe I'm interested, but I'm not interested in paying you. And he said, don't worry, you don't have to, they'll pay me. So he had an offer there from them. And my Abby, my wife at the time there, she was really into Europe and traveling. So we made a decision there, like, hey, let's jump overseas there. We can save a bit of money for a down payment on a house back here. And then, a couple of years, come back, finish my degree at Western. So made the decision, hey, let's go over there and see what it's all about. And heard some good stories, some bad stories. And but
who's the coach there when you go there?
Todd Bjorkstrand.
Was it?
The legend.
The
legend.
Yeah, the legend himself. His kid's playing for Columbus now, right?
Yeah. So
I've heard mixed reviews. Mixed reviews.
He's a hockey guy,
folks.
and
Thrasher, Belgian whip beer. Mixed reviews.
He's a hard coach for sure. Strict guy, and I know when I got there, it was really funny. We, he was hard. It was like a little bit college style, workouts in the morning, hard trainings, like strict by the book. He was a hockey guy day and night, and went to the bar. And of course, there we get to Europe. Me and the other imports were hitting the Canadian guys. We're getting there at 9 o'clock. We're there for like 3-4 hours. Nobody's there till like 11. But the young guys come in. They're there, and all of a sudden, like, we're in the bathroom one time taking a piss, and one of the young guys is going out the window. We're like, "What are you guys doing? Meet, what are you doing?" He's like, "Well, Todd's here." And we were like, "What?" He's like, "Todd's here. If he sees me, like, I'll never play another game." Because the Danish guys, like, they couldn't do anything. We had 10 imports on the team and 5 national team guys.
Yeah.
And that's the only guys that played.
Yep.
So, he was a hard coach there, and but he was winning. I think he won 5 or 6 times as a player and 5 or 6 times as the coach. So
he was the coach when I won my gold medal against them in the finals against Herning. Okay. They went through a lot of imports, but they wouldn't do that when you and that. So this is your first year playing with Brent Kelly.
Yeah, it was. We
big
played.
Day, so this is one of the elite prospects bromances I've watched over the years. I tell you, you guys have really done her together, eh?
Yeah, I was really fortunate to meet up with Brent there. And since then, we almost separated the next year and the year after again, just looking for contracts. But then we had a 12-year stretch together and great chemistry. We matched up great.
12 years?
Yeah, we played 2 years before we came to Langenthal together. and then nine and a half years here. So it was a long time, and just he's a super great guy. He's from London, Ontario, living there now. But we
sounds like a podcast.
Yeah, great chemistry, and had a lot of fun off the ice. We both loved golf, liked having beers together. The wives' girlfriends were good friends, and we actually lived next door to each other the whole time we were in Langenthal. So
you guys are family, like you guys. And I saw they even retired your jerseys together, right? Which would make sense since you guys were holding each other's.
Yeah, we had our jersey retirement night together. They flew Brent back over here, and that was a really special night there. We had a lot of videos from players we played with, and standing on the ice there together. And even every day I go for practice now, sometimes you happen to glance up and you see it there, and great memories come back. And there's one other guy up there, Eichmann, the goalie we played with. He was here the whole time we were here, and a couple of years before. And my captain of the team now, he's going to be going up there beside us very shortly. He was our other line mate we played with for the 8-9 years here, and
his name starts with a T. Tasha Shannon.
Shannon. So the
TSCH.
Shannon.
Yeah. Even though we're far apart, we're always connected, Jeff.
That's right. We are. So that was just amazing luck, I guess you want to call it. People always ask, that was the first time you played together, and we said, like, no, actually, when we were on a kind of a regional prospects team for the OHL draft, the guy in our area had put a team together, and Brent was playing in Thamesford, maybe junior D. And so me and him went on the same team together. So maybe 2-3 weekends we played together there. We were 15, 16. And then we got off the plane together there in Denmark. And, for the next 10, 12 years, it was a great ride.
I find it interesting how the podcast has gone, where I'm living now, how many people I've had on and how many people I want to have on that end up being from this area that I didn't even really think of it. You're from here, like Nesbitt. This guy, like, it seems to me like the guys you get along with the best, the guys that you enjoy on and off the ice, spending time with, being friends with, are the guys you play the best hockey with, because you're willing to talk to each other about it. Like, well, I see this or I see that. And it's just like more of a brotherhood than just teammates. And it's interesting how many guys are in this Midwest Ontario region that I seem to want on.
Yeah, that Southwest Ontario region there where we come up with, I think a bit of it is the upbringing there. Like, I know when I go home there, it's just like you walk in, like I brought my wife there and we were walking down the street and she's like, where are we going? I said, well, we're just walking around here. I had a cooler, heard some noise in the backyard and just walked back in and sat down. And she's like, well, what are you doing? I said, like, well, I know the guys back here. I don't know the house, but you go in and everybody's family and everybody comes up kind of with similar stories, and it's a big difference. Like the guys I met that come from Toronto, playing on those AAA teams all the way up, and
they're not this. Yeah, it's different.
They're a little bit. It's a different lifestyle. They come up maybe. Normally, you got a lot of money when you're coming up there. You got to pay a lot to be on those teams, and you're just a different kind of person. And when you get with guys from our area, you mesh well there. They have good memories. You like doing the same things. Everybody likes drinking, likes playing golf, and you can have a laugh together. And then you want to be around those people. They're your people. You want to be around them. And in the dressing room, you go sit with those guys. You get the camaraderie going.
Well, and people play hockey like their personalities too, right? And like their teammates by how they've grown up and the people they're around. And it's just interesting for me. But then I didn't know where he was from. I didn't realize he was from around here too. And it makes sense because, when you really gel with a dude, you're usually buddies on and off the ice. You usually don't gel that well with a guy on the ice and play as long as you guys did, or even the guys I gelled with. Like if you do it on the ice, you're doing it off the ice too.
Yeah, I think that was a big thing. Like when I got to Europe that first year in Denmark, I remember right away, I think it was our first game, and that selfish element of hockey came in. Over here, it's all about dollars and points. And with me and Brent, there was like that selfish element. It wasn't there ever. We were happy when the other guy scored because in the end we knew we were both making money.
And you're helping each other.
Yeah, so we knew that, and we were just feeding off each other. And that first game we had a lot. I guess it was the second line. They scored a goal where a guy passed it to the defenseman, and the guy in the high slot tipped it, and then the guy in front of the net tipped it, and they both celebrated to opposite corners, jumping off the glass, celebrating like crazy. And at that time, I think my contract, I got €100 a goal. From 1 to 10, and from 10 to 20, I got €200 a goal. And I'm thinking like, well, if I got that, everybody else has got that. So on a 2-on-1, nobody's passing. Everybody's shooting, and that started a fight like right away because the guy in the corner who was the top scorer on the team, he gave the second pass, didn't get an assist because all the guys in front said they tipped it. So they got a point and they got more money. And I think that was a big recipe for us there. And once we got to Langenthal, it was in our contracts, like, we got paid for winning. We didn't get paid for points. They said, like, here, we want to win. We'll pay you guys if we win. Yeah. And we were like, yeah, let's do it. Like, we were confident that we would play well together. And so that was a bit of the recipe for the chemistry there was we both wanted each other to score and win. So it didn't matter if we got 2 points or no points. If we won, that was a win for us.
Well, and that's the way hockey should be. I'd never had in my contract about goals and assists. That was never a thing. I had heard of guys having that, and I thought, well, how do you play? Nor like, I think hockey should be clear mind. You're just in the moment and making the right decision for the right play and at the right moment. And if you have that in the back of your head that you get this for a goal or this for assist, it's going to change some decisions on people, and you can't win doing that.
Yeah, that's just human nature there when you get those other elements coming in, and especially I wasn't really on teams over here other than that first year when you have 7-8 imports. That's when you can get some egos coming in and that selfishness, and it just splits the locker room. And
it's
here in Switzerland, we have 2 imports in the B League. So it was me and Brent, and we had success early. So the team was really happy with us. And, we were low maintenance guys, like, hey, we want an apartment with an extra bedroom for our families when they come, and, give us a decent car, to get around. And we didn't have any problems there. And as long as we kept producing, they were happy to keep us. And the guys in the locker room here, we had so much fun there, with the guys here. We had not normal situation maybe in Europe where a lot of the guys resent the imports because they know they're getting paid more. They're the guys that, get all the attention. But here, when we came in, like, we're going to the bars with the guys drinking, like, just everybody was together. And the guys,
one of the guys,
we loved the guys. They were funny, great guys. They opened up, and we hear stories from other imports in the league, and it was just like, it was different. So, yeah. So,
but then it's also different with the local guys, right? Because they are jealous, and then I was on a team where there was this young punk saying like imports were stealing points and doing this. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, there's so many, there's guys that can fracture rooms. I know that. But when the imports lead by example and are good teammates, it can change a team, right?
Yeah. And that's, I think we had a great situation here where we had 2 or 3 Swiss guys that could probably play in the A League above us. They just chose to be down here because they wanted to have fun. They wanted to play power play. They wanted to play 20 minutes a night, and they wanted to win. And so they chose to stay here. And then together with me and Brent and a few other guys, we had a winning team almost every year. So when the guys came in, they were all like pretty respectful of us. And they were happy to be on this ship because they've been on some other teams where it wasn't fun. And that was always great here. Everybody came in and was like, "Oh, I'm so happy to be here." And we were having fun. And when we were winning, we were having more fun. And it's a snowball. It's a big snowball. So that's a big thing with, on the cast here, you talked about it. There's some organizations that do things the right way. And we had a couple young.
The accent's back out again. It's the
it's
right way. Super, the right way.
The right way. Well, we're 2 beers deep now, Ollie, so it's gonna get thicker.
Okay. I got to cut you off though, because you just skipped
Yeah.
over a whole bunch of stuff that I'm actually can relate to you. Because
Mhm.
I played a game in the Olton rink, but we're not talking about that yet because you were with, who did I say? Was it? Oh no, you were with
Herning.
Herning. Yeah,
Herning. Yeah.
Yorkstrand, and
Yeah.
in Denmark, what I was going to say, and I totally forget now,
We
is
lost the
you
Sonnies.
lost
Yeah,
to
fuck off.
Sunderewski
Yeah, we did.
and Dan Seaman, episode 16, folks. I think.
Yeah.
You guys lost to him. He was a player at that point, not a coach, but he's been winning at both. So, how did that final round go? And I'm just curious because Daryl Andrews was a Potter too. Were you and Brent Kelly matched up against Daryl Andrews?
Not really. Well, problem was Brent broke his toe after game 2, and he sat out a couple games. So we weren't matched up there. But I remember Daryl, and I had actually maybe met Daryl once at Western before, and all I knew about Daryl was he'd thrown some guys off the balcony when he was at party and after. So, for sure I had my head up in that series when I saw him on the ice. But yeah, that was
dandy.
That season we were both pretty stacked teams. I think the whole season there we were near the top. They had all quality. They had the national team, Danish guys and good imports, and we had the same. And I think they beat us in game 6 there in overtime.
In the old barn?
In the old barn. So that was a special place there. You couldn't hear the guy beside you on the bench talking. Like nothing. That was a big home advantage. Like when they had the puck buzzing in your end, communication didn't matter. You couldn't. So yeah, disappointing there. I would have loved to get one of those gold buckets, but didn't happen for me there. The Sonnies boys came out on top. So
yeah. Well, you know what though, you did get the deal in the Swiss B League. So at what point in the season does that happen? When do you sign with Olten while you're in Denmark? Because realistically, when I was in Denmark, that's where I was trying to go, and I finished second in the league in scoring, and I couldn't get out of there.
Yeah, actually, I signed after the season. So 2000, that year, 2009, maybe in Denmark was the first kind of economy crash. So at the end of the season, we couldn't even get our paychecks, all of them. But they were a good organization, Herning. They said, hey, we're going to split the last 2 months up over 6 so we don't get relegated down 2 divisions. So we don't want to go bankrupt. And same with everybody was hurting over here. So we were trying to get to Germany actually at the time. And I think Brent had an offer. I had one team, maybe Iserlohn, call me. And the money was it wasn't great, but I was like just being patient there. And then Olten had called. And my agent at the time said, like, hey, if you want to not be worried about your money, go to Switzerland. He said, like, because that was the first thing I'd heard about Europe is you don't get paid. My coach had told me get a round trip ticket. When you miss a paycheck, fly home. It's over. So I decided to come to Olten. Then I signed in Olten, probably May. I think I was back in the U.S. then at the time, and yeah, there was. Maybe a little bit less money than I wanted, but he said it's going to be there every month. And he said, if you do well, it's a great place to be. So,
yeah,
made a decision to come there to Olten, and the rest was kind of history there.
When you guys both got the deal together, you go with that Brent Kelly and you play together, and going to a Swiss B League, which was one of my things, was you can get there and not mesh with the other import, right? And you go there knowing you mesh with the guy.
Yeah, well, actually, I had signed, and he was going to sign in Germany, and I think the deal fell through, and he got more money from Olten, so he signed the week after me there. So it actually was a little bit there where we could have went separate ways, and he signed as well there, and then we started out there actually, and it was a lot of pressure here in Switzerland. They want to fire guys as fast as you can, and it's coach, and then it's the imports. Those are the contracts. So.
I find in Europe, it's to stay long term or to do well. I guess it's kind of like pro in North America is your first year over there or your rookie year in North America. Those are your biggest years. Your first year to show what you can do. in either place. And then after that, it's being a good person and continuing to play well.
Yeah, that first impression is important. And, luckily we had, I think in Olton, they had a little bit money trouble the year before and they hadn't played well. And we started out our first 3 games. They brought in a Swiss guy and he had like 50, 60 points the year before. And our first 3 games, I think I had 1 assist and Brent and our other line mate had 0 points. And we were 1-3 or 0-3. And the fans there, they're just football hooligans.
Whistling.
They wanted us, they wanted us out of there. Management had told us like a couple weeks later, and they had talked to the board and the fan club. They said, no, be patient. These guys can play. And then we got on a roll after that. And we played the 3 toughest teams, I think, looking back. The 3 best teams in the league we played at the start, and we lost close games. But then we got on a roll, and we ended up 2nd and 5th in the league in scoring that year, and the team 2nd. So big success. 2 weeks later, the fans are outside the dressing room, chant your name and all that great stuff that comes with it there. And unfortunately there, we didn't come to a contract extension. And before the end of the season, we signed in Langenthal, which is the Derby rival.
All right, so do you want to hear my backstory for this one then? Is I was playing for Bietigheim. We go to Olton and play a game, and literally after a period, it wasn't even a period, I don't think. We went all the way to Switzerland to play a game, and it was too foggy. The rink was too foggy, and they canceled the game. And
really?
We only played a period, and that we went all the way to Switzerland there. So we're up having the meal after the game, and these fans get chatting, and they're like, "Oh, we saw you played with Jeff Campbell." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, I know Soupy." And they're like, "Yeah, he just left us for our biggest rivals." And I'm like, "Yeah, I saw that." And they were telling me that these were the biggest rivals. And I was like, "Well, if you want to put in a good word for me, I'd love to come."
So I remember the fog there. We had several games, and they fixed the problem there now. But we would have to get out like after 10 minutes of the first period. Both teams skating laps to clear out the fog there. Like
we did that too, and then they were like, just shut it down, exhibition. But so you went derby to derby, which in people in North America listening, a derby is basically, they call that your biggest rivals, your local closest rival in pro hockey, and it is serious shit when those fan groups get together.
Yeah, and we probably didn't realize the significance of it at the time. Like we knew when we played each other, that was when the most fans came, and the guys told us like, hey, we win this game tonight against Langenthal, it doesn't matter if we lose the next 5. Like
it really doesn't. Yeah.
So and how it ended up was, I think 3 games left in the season, Brent signed with Langenthal. And
do people find out that happened?
Yeah, and the reason they found out it happened, so I think a week or 2 after, they were deciding between me and another guy, and the coach wanted another guy, but the GM and the owner and Brent wanted me to come as well. So then they made me the offer, and I was talking with Olton still, but they didn't want to come up in the price where I thought was like respectable, knowing what other imports got.
Yeah.
And then so I signed with Langenthal, and then we said like, hey, we keep it quiet till after the season because maybe we're going to play in the playoffs. Well, the third last game of the season we were in Olton, we played Langenthal, and we won 7-1 or something. We hammered them.
With Olton?
We hammered them, and then like all the fans are all over like our management that's at the game, one of the presidents maybe, and they're just like, you guys suck. And he was walking by and he said, yeah, well, we signed Campbell Kelly for next season, so F you. And then like the next day my phone's ringing like, hey, we're putting something out in the media. And so they put out a story in the media. They did everything to sign us, but all we wanted was money and kind of try to make us look like the bad guys. And so then the next 2 home games, step on the ice, warm up, they're whistling and stuff. And for me from Canada, whistling's like, positive thing. I didn't get it.
No, that's
and they're yelling Swiss stuff. And the guys are like, oh man, you hear what they're saying? Like, oh, it's lucky you don't understand. I won't even tell you. So we're like, yeah, I don't notice it. We know it's going to be bad. But then first shift of the game, we go down and I steal the puck from the goalie, I think, and pass it in front. Brent scores. So the crowd cheers like crazy. And then they realized it was us, and 5,000 people are just whistling, throwing bags. They had like fake Monopoly money and bags of money thrown on the ice. And So whatever. So we get through the next couple of games, and we're playing Langenthal in the playoffs. So we win the first 3 games, and then we kind of get a little bit of a down, and it goes to game 7, and like
in the Derby.
Yeah, in the Derby, and so the rumors going around, they gave us a $10,000 signing bonus or something to lose the series. That's part of our new contract. So those things just catch fire, and we ended up winning in game 7 and get through to the next round. And then in the next round in Switzerland, if you there's no overtime, I think. After the first overtime,
you're the coach. You should know.
Yeah, they changed the rule again already because it was stupid. So after the first overtime, there's a penalty shootout. It's not continuous overtime.
I remember in playoffs, It's 10 minutes. And then the only time it could ever be nonstop till there's a goal was the final game of the series is what we played in Germany.
Yeah, so we weren't that smart here, but so we were shooting in the game 6 of the semifinals.
No, that would be a shootout in Germany. Only game 7 could be nonstop.
Yeah. Well, we had game 7 shootout, but we were shooting, and now we beat Langenthal, but even when we went to shoot in the penalty shot, everybody there, 5,000-6,000 people are just going crazy, booing, whistling when we're shooting, trying to win the game. Like, they hated us from that day forward, and
luckily they're whistling at you when you're trying to score for Olton to win. The fans are
they were all over us, and that's when we realized, like, whoa. I remember Kelly told me at the time, like, when we won game 7 against Langenthal, he couldn't sleep the night before because he was worried that we wouldn't get out of there alive if we lost. I was like, well, that never really crossed my mind, but you're probably right. They would have been waiting outside,
It's just, so, they're so serious about it. Those fans over there can take it so far. I heard the same thing about my time in Landshut, that they said Hammer, Geipe, and myself left Landshut for Bietigheim for all the money. Well, Landshut never offered us contracts because they knew they couldn't compete. And it's like, well, then they tell the fans that all we want is money. It's like,
yeah. And I think at the time, I asked for a $5,000 or $10,000 raise, and I was still
not close to the top
50,000 behind the top guy that had, and so it was a little bit there, a little bit in the media, but we kind of took the high road as much as we could there, and it worked out for us in the end. We made the switch, and sometimes it doesn't work out, but we had good success once we got over here. And
so you guys make the switch to Langenthal. So we've been going a while. We're busy boys, okay? Yeah. Swiss food, fondue, in my experience, can be the best thing I've ever ate or the worst.
Yeah, I love it, but for me, it's like it's a good apero. It would be good to have maybe eat it for 10 or 50. Apero. Yeah, appetizer.
Jesus Christ.
Thank you, Wally, for the translation here.
No worries. I'll translate for you, big guy. You're from Hensall, don't forget.
Yeah. So for me, it's a nice warm up meal, but just eating bread and cheese, a couple glasses of wine with it. It doesn't feel so good a couple hours later the next day, but
can really block things up.
The raclette is another one here.
Yeah.
You get a little sausage, little bacon on top of the grill there. That's a little bit more my style, pouring that over top of the potatoes with a little bit of meat on the grill. That's more my favorite, I guess, traditional Swiss meal. The other one they have is called roasty. And basically what it is hash browns. Yeah. And that's with every meal here. If it's not French fries, it's hash browns. I know the raclette. I own one. I have one here in Kincardine, Ontario.
I'm racletting. But the roasties, those are hash browns. And I just remember in Germany every January, McDonald's would come out with the big roasties. Do you remember that sucker? You ever had one of those?
I haven't. I don't know if I've hit up McDonald's yet in Germany. Maybe I'm sure I have, but
it's only in January's, and it was a big burger with a hash brown on it, bacon, and cheese sauce. And it wasn't a meal; it was an experience. I'll tell you that. Yeah.
That's one thing about Switzerland. They don't have the breakfast menu here where I live, and I love the 2 hash browns. that came with the old bacon and egg McMuffin.
Yeah.
That was one of my favorite quick feud things down in Gwinnett. Hitting that up on the way to practice in the morning. So
you wouldn't let
that's
your
how you
players,
score 90.
you wouldn't let your
Yeah.
players beat like that anymore though, eh?
No, I wouldn't recommend it, but I had 90 points, so it couldn't have been that bad for me.
That's what I always say. Okay, I got another serious question though before we get close to ending this. Is you said you went up to the Swiss A League. I've played with another guy that was in the Swiss B League when I was always aspiring to get there. Is guys getting loaned to the Swiss A League.
Yeah.
Rumor has it you can get loaned and you can get some big paydays and you just hang out and get paid well.
That is the rumor, and there's truth to part of that rumor. I wasn't part of that rumor, but normally how it works here, and especially for the imports. So every A League they get 4 imports playing. Now it's up a little bit, but the end of the season they want insurance, so they sign like a license for all the guys in the league below, and depending on the situation, how bad they want you, they'll offer you a signing bonus, and then you get like a wage while you're there, the game bonuses, playoff bonuses, and sometimes you don't touch the ice. So for me, going into Bern there, it was I didn't negotiate the contract before. My team had just said hey, you want your B license in Bern? I was like, yeah, I can go to Bern. Like, yeah, for sure. Like, I'd love to play there one day. Like, that's one of the best spots in all of Europe. And so I didn't hit the jackpot there, but interesting enough was
you won the championship and actually played.
Yeah, I had to. Yeah, I got in and got it. Right away. I think Peter Sikora was there, played with the New Jersey Devils, and he had a back injury. He was 35 or 40 at the time, so him and another guy were out. So we had lost out in Game 6 of the semifinals, and the next night I went there to play Game 7 of the first round for Bern, and
after
got in
20 points in 10 games in the Swiss Beat League. By the way, folks.
Yeah. So
you were on a heater.
Yeah, so I got in there, and first game, I think I got on the second line there, first line with the other import, and had an assist in the game, and then played good for 9-10 games, produced, and then a couple of the guys got healthy, and the last 2 games I got sat, and we ended up winning there, and that was an awesome experience there. I remember the first time I came out in the ice, and they got a standing section there. It's 10,000 people, just the standing, and you come out on the ice, and it seems like you're looking up at the Empire State Building, like lights everywhere, and just come out, they call your name, and 17,000 people like echo it back, and that's a feeling I think probably as close as I would have ever got to being on the NHL. That feeling you get, you step out there, and you're just like the adrenaline's just pumping. So
well, I never played in Langenthal. I played in Olden, and it was very similar to like a second league German rink. It was, it was a cool rink, but it very much could have been a junior rink in Canada, realistically. But then you saw the Swiss A rinks. I went to Lugano and played there one game, and it was a whole different world, right?
Yeah, they're here. It's
what do you guys got? How many do you got? How many seats?
We got over 4,000, and that's in the finals only. Until the semifinals, maybe 2,000 on a good night, a little over, depending how it's going. And sometimes they add it up a little bit different than actual people. It's tickets sold, so there's a lot of tickets given away that don't show up sometimes, but we do well. When you're winning here, the fans show up, and it's nice to play. This year, I think we had 1,000 something at the first game, but it felt like 4,000 after the last year and a half. So, yeah, it's not the same. It's similar to what you experienced in Europe. A couple thousand people. I think in England, Britain, there you had it. There, I think it's a passionate, similar fan base to the A League. It's that football mentality. It's 10,000 people, and they're going crazy. It's drunk adults, like in one room, 20,000. So,
and they have fun. They're there. That's their Friday or Saturday night, and they're having fun, right? Yeah. Like they're not there to sit there and just watch hockey and
no,
they're there to enjoy the experience, right?
Yeah,
Whether
it's a big
that's
difference
whistle
from,
at you and throw
yeah,
shit money bags at
yeah,
you, that
yeah.
that's them having fun.
And it's a generational thing here. Like, you grow up as a young kid, as a fan of a team, and when you're a dad, like you're still going. And
You grow up, born into it.
that's exactly how it is. So you're going with your dad, your kids all along, and everybody's like live and die by that. So it's great for being a part of that here in Switzerland. And yeah, it's you see the soccer over here, and in Switzerland the A League, it's the same. The fans there, like they got security cages, everything, keep the animals locked up and away from each other. So
Oh yeah, they get into it. They're passionate people, aren't they?
yes, they are.
Have you ever I guess you probably aren't because you're still right in the middle of it. Now you're coaching and you're so busy to really think of it. You've never really got to sit back and think about your career, but have you ever thought about like maybe how important you'd be to like the children of Langenthal and like those people that have been born into this and now you've been that big a like I don't want to pump your tires too much, but like an icon in that town or city, like you've been the guy. You and Brent Kelly were the guys forever, and now you're the head coach.
Yeah, it's like you want to be humble, but you also, in a town here, we've been here so long, and people come up to you a lot, and it kind of hit me first when I was first assistant coach here. A couple of young guys, I knew them, played with them, but then they came up to me after I was coaching, and they're like, "Yeah, here, look at the championship picture. Like this is me on the ice here. Like we're trying to get into the photo with you guys, and you're like my idol." And then you kind of get it. You're like, what? Like I'm your idol. Like I'm playing in the second league, but that's like they grow up watching that, and they want to be the guys on the ice. And it's cool when a little kid comes up to you, or you're walking in the town, and then you hear like, oh, hey, little whisper, that's Jeff Campbell.
Yeah.
And maybe the other guy's like, who's that? But it's a cool feeling, and you take it for what it's worth, and you try to give back. We have the hockey schools here and stuff, and it's fun when you get out on the ice with those kids, and then for them it's a big moment to be on the ice with you, and you try to enjoy it, and let them have their moment there with you, and appreciate that. When I was a kid, there was always guys you looked up to, and if I saw them, I knew that feeling I had. So you try to look at it through that window, and know their feelings. So be a good role model for them, and say hello, sign an autograph, and give back when you can.
Be a good
That's
person.
Right. That's what it's all about. And
I think that's how you and Brent Kelly probably lasted there so long. Is you guys probably could have scored as many points as you want, but if you're not deep down good dudes, they'll get tired of you.
Yeah, that's maybe part of it in any area of life. If you're doing well, and the way, the risk, and the war, but the minute things go a little bit bad, they'll kick you to the street because you're not a good person. And I know that from here. When I had my injuries, they stood behind me and gave me all the support. And I think that was because I was a good person, and did a good job, and that paid off in the end for me. And then they gave me this opportunity after. And you try to be a good person every day, and that karma kind of hopefully keeps you going in the right direction.
Well, I'm really excited now to watch the Swiss B League and see how you do this year, because that's what I love about this pod. Is like before, I don't really give a shit who's winning in leagues or anything, because I hardly know any of the guys anymore. But now that I start talking with people, like now I'm a Langenthal fan in the Swiss B League. So thank you.
Hey man, we're happy to have you on board here. So maybe I got to give you a call tomorrow. You had an import get injured last week, so we're looking for a right shot, maybe, Wally.
Yeah, no, sorry, I'm actually already injured. I did a spin-a-rooney coaching the kids earlier this week, and I haven't been able to walk since. So no, you don't need me. I'm a pregame speaker now and a podcaster.
Well, there's maybe we've had a couple guys in that just do that for us. So maybe a mental motivational coach.
They're usually not imports. Okay. Last question. Your favorite Langenthal championship memories then?
My favorite memories, even though it was
you're speaking Swiss German again.
Am I?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're saying things with an accent again, but it's just weird for me. I saw a picture of you as a player winning it. I saw a picture of you with a knee brace on, which really hit home with me. And then I saw another one. So like you've had 3 different situations.
Yeah, I think the first one was by far the one I look back on, probably because I played the biggest role in that one. It was the most satisfying. You know, I got all the way through. Last shift, I got injured, so I felt like I contributed the most to that. And that was the first time I'd won in a long time. You know, pro hockey, college there, juniors. There'd been a lot of close calls, but not winning. And so that one was really, really special there with the guys. And then, you know, the next one was also great. You know, being on the ice with the guys, even though I was injured, it was fun. And then the coaching one, probably just feeling that you could impact the game still while you're not playing, and that was a different satisfaction. And you know, now the goal for me is so, and now for me that's kind of the fire there that's driving me. I want to do it as the head coach. I want to lead a group of guys and hoist it again here. So you know, we got a great squad this year, and that's the goal for us, is try to do it again. And I think that's kind of be the cherry on top here for me at Langenthal, to, you know, be a player winning it, and then as the head coach winning it would be a nice finish for my career here.
That would be all right if they had a statue out front of the arena or something, you know, like you're getting close to that. They already retired the jersey. You start winning as a coach, they're going to have no better options.
Yeah. So I don't know if they're into statues, but I'm happy with the number, man. And it was great to catch up with you here, Wally.
Buddy, it's been a slice, and I it's weird, man. Like, you're best buddies in college, right? And then you leave for pro, and I watch it through the computers or whatever, and I do my thing. You might run into each other for 5 minutes through the decades, but that's it, right? And you just keep on keeping on, and that's what we all do, right?
Yeah, it is, man, and it's great that hockey's such a small world there. You know, you have a guy on here, and, you know, like Larry was on here the other day, Nazi, other guys, and then, you know, I love watching the show, and for me right now, I'm trying to like increase my network. So, you know, I'll be checking out the shows here and making some contacts there, because I gotta, you know, scout guys back home, and maybe I'll be sending you out there in the local leagues, checking on some guys for me here in the future, Wally. So
well, and the thing is, the hockey world is so small, right? Is that, like, it's not hard to get a reasonable review on a player just by making a few phone calls. If you have dudes you can trust, it's like having a podcast.
That's right, buddy. No, it's knowing guys and trusting them. So that's the hockey world. And you know, shows like yours, you know, you remember some names and can connect a few dots, and I can call a guy that, you know, and, you know, ask you, hey, can I trust this guy? And then, you know, I can rely on the information there. So you know, hopefully the next time we see each other isn't 15 years. So I get back up there. Maybe we meet up in Bayfield for some beer and wings.
Absolutely. That would be incredible. And yeah, let me know if you're ever coming back. And I look forward to watching Langenthal this season dominate the Swiss B League. Hopefully they're giving you the budget to do it, because I know that's pretty important over there.
That is, man. So I'm gonna earn the money I'm getting this year. So
yeah,
we got some good players. So, but hopefully we can have a long season there, and you can follow along with us.
Oh, we will. And not once you get some more coaching under your belt, and then you work your way up, you know, to the big time, then you can come back on and tell us all about it.
That'll be my first stop, Wally. My first stop.
But seriously, if I was a player and you called me to play for you, I would play for you in a heartbeat, man. Well,
I would love to have a guy like you on my team right now too, Wally. So goes both ways.
That ship has sailed, sir. And that has been another episode of Two Ales and Hockey Tales with Soupy and Wally. Stripper voice, Rob Collins episode.